Welcome to Global Eye. Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The top story we are tracking this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be travelling to France at the invitation of French President Macron from the 10th to the 12th of February. He will be attending and co-chairing the Artificial Intelligence Summit along with meeting the French President for bilateral talks. The Prime Minister will also head to the United States on an official visit from the 12th to the 13th of February. PM Modi will hold bilateral talks with President Trump and meet senior officials from the US administration. Modi is also expected to interact with key American business leaders and the Indian diaspora during his visit. Sources have indicated that the two leaders will have a discussion on a trade agreement with an agenda to lay out a roadmap to sign a deal in 7 to 8 months. This visit comes at a time when the US administration deported 104 illegal Indian nationals this week as part of Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Joining us now to take the discussion forward and put the Prime Minister's visit to the White House in perspective for our viewers is Atul Kesha, present at the US-India Business Council. Mr. Kashyap, thank you so much for joining us on the program. Let me begin by asking you, on trade, what do you expect? Will they set out a roadmap on a trade agreement?
Well, I very much hope so. Hi, Parikshit. Thanks for having me on. Look, we've been kind of stalled out for the past few years between the U.S. and India on trade facilitation and innovation. And these are two big, bold, ambitious leaders. So I hope that they will be ambitious for the trajectory of our two countries. And I absolutely hope they'll come up with something robust.
Right. Now, after the new administration was sworn in, what has been the recommendation from the U.S. Chambers of Commerce, from the U.S. IBC, to the U.S. government, to the Trump administration on what to do with the trade agreement with India, and also how to reduce the trade deficit?
Well, let's take a step back, Parikshit, and just think about the moment. You know, President Trump just got sworn in. He had Minister Jaishankar here for that inauguration. They had a Quad meeting immediately thereafter with the 4 foreign ministers of the Quad. And now we are hurtling right into a visit by Prime Minister Modi. And this is indicative not only of the very warm and special relationship between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi dating back to the first Trump administration, but it's also indicative of the importance of India and, more importantly, of India-U.S. ties in helping propel economic growth, prosperity, and stability on this planet. If you think about all of the other, sort of quasi-great powers, they all have problems, but India and the U.S., while we also have problems, are much stronger. We are more robust. Our societies are more resilient. We are bursting with innovation because of our free people and the talent of our people. And our economic growth is strong, and it can become even stronger. If you look at what's been happening in the early days of this administration, they're looking at ways to transform and unleash the animal spirits of the American people and the American economy to boost our growth even more. And I think that's true about India as well. So USIBC has always been in favor of this. This is our 50th anniversary Golden Jubilee in 2025. For 50 years, we have advocated for the strongest possible strategic, economic, and technological collaboration between the people of the United States and the people of India. We put out a report 2 weeks ago that basically outlines 9 different areas where we ought to intensify our relationship: defense, fintech, digital economy, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, pharmaceuticals, you name it. The sky's the limit if we really focus. And I do think there's an air of ambition right now in what the two leaders want to try to achieve. That means that we can probably get a lot of good stuff done.
Right. Could you give us a sense of the kind of U.S. CEOs, or which sectors would those CEOs be from, who will actually call on Prime Minister Modi? We believe that the National Security Council, the White House, is handling this visit very tightly, and there will be a business meeting with the PM, but we don't know who all will be there as yet.
Well, here's what I can tell you, and of course the two governments have to decide how they're going to structure the visit. But we at USIBC have dozens of top CEOs who are ready to engage with both the Prime Minister and the President. These are CEOs from the very top companies in e-commerce, financial services, banking, defense, new economy, digital economy, the life sciences. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've compiled a list of 30 CEOs who are ready to change their plans and fly in in order to be part of this. And that list is growing, I might add, every minute.
Right, 30 CEOs. What about energy ties? Do you expect the president to urge Prime Minister Modi to buy more crude, buy more LNG from the US? And do you expect any sort of agreement on that front?
Well, I can't speak for President Trump, but I 100% would love to see India buy more LNG, more crude, innovate with us on nuclear, especially modular nuclear. I think there's an energy revolution that the US and India can drive. We've already got a pretty strong critical minerals working group. There's a lot else we can do. I'm very bullish on modular nuclear, but this is where governments have to make decisions. America has a proven track record of being a reliable partner and supplier for oil and gas. It will greatly help balance the structural trade deficit between Washington and Delhi if India buys more oil and gas. I think President Trump has also been very clear in his statements that he wants India to buy more defense articles. We, of course, fully support that. We support full defense collaboration to ensure the deterrence capability of India and the United States. I'd like to see more agricultural sales as well, soybeans and corn and whatnot. So there's quite a bit of ambition on the American side for what could come out of it. And I think there's also a desire to see India take steps to reduce tariffs further and reduce non-tariff barriers further, and to speed up business, including cutting down on red tape. We did a little internal survey of our companies, and while they're very bullish on India, they're investing like crazy in India. They're expanding in India, just like Indian companies who are also members are expanding heavily in America, paying taxes here, employing people here. There is a great desire to see India reduce its tariffs, its rather considerable non-tariff barriers, and bureaucratic red tape that slows down a lot of decision-making. If that happens, I think India's GDP will grow, FDI will grow, and it'll be good for the Indian people.
Top 3 sectors where we need to reduce tariffs, according to the Trump administration and the US chambers?
Well, I think agricultural goods, certain consumer products as well. There's a whole list. I mean, India, not to put words in my mouth, but to say what former USTR Representative Bob Lighthizer said, India is the most protectionist large economy on earth. And that may be for solid reasons. I mean, you have to see what the Indian government does for its people. But I think it actually would serve to advance India, make it more dynamic, more globally competitive, enhance FDI flows and job creation, tax generation, if India were to drop these barriers and be a bit more confident about itself. And that's definitely I think, something that President Trump and his team will be looking at.
Right. Elon Musk in the room, how does he impact Donald Trump's policies vis-a-vis India?
So, look, there's a lot that's said about him. Here's what I'll say. Elon Musk represents a new technology ambition of the United States. Think about NASA compared to SpaceX and the capabilities of SpaceX now. I worked in the government for 28 years. Government doesn't have the monopoly on smarts and capability. And it's innovators like Musk, an immigrant who brought his native genius to our shores and has revolutionized the way we get the internet through satellites, the way we get into space, the way we drive cars and get around town, and so much else besides. I mean, I'm on Twitter, you're on Twitter. That is where the ideas of this world flow. So whether you like him or hate him, the fact is that he has completely reminded Americans that we can tap into our own genius to advance ourselves, and that we shouldn't be content with 2 and 3% growth rates and a very sort of sclerotic, advanced industrial state. That in fact, we can also be like India, growing very rapidly, that we can intensify the pace of change in our country for the betterment of our people, and that we can use technology. So I think this is a moment full of possibility in the United States. It is a wedding of government purpose and free citizens technologies. And I would like to see the Trump-Modi summit harness that and unleash the animal spirits of India and the United States in ways that are good for our countries, our people, and for the entire world.
Right. My last question. Right now there's a lot of discomfort in the Indian political side, especially with the manner in which the deported Indian nationals on that military plane were treated. They were all in restraints. Now, one understands that this is US protocol. This is how the they deal with people who have broken laws in the US. Having said that, is there any scope for negotiation on how they are treated? Because India has expressed concerns about them being restrained, and this is likely to figure in conversations between the two sides next week as well.
Yeah, yes, it certainly could come up. I mean, look, Parikshit, I think that the two leaders are going to talk about the Indo-Pacific, where India and Washington have an enormous amount of strategic convergence. They're going to talk about the Middle East, where India and the United States are essentially helping our allies in the region to shore up stability and positive transformation in that part of the world. We have a giant agenda to talk about in terms of the Indian Ocean, Africa, the Pacific Islands, where even in Latin America, where India and the U.S. have a global partnership on shared concerns. And so that'll be a big part of the conversation. The trade and economic will also be a giant part of the conversation, where I hope that we will see an enormous input of energy and ambition by both leaders in order to take us to the next level on trade. And then on this issue, I would say it's complex. There are many facets to it. You know, we haven't talked about skilled visas and things like skilled worker visas, but this issue certainly could come up. And this is where the governments need to have a friendly, frank, constructive conversation between two friends who trust each other.
All right. Thank you very much, Ambassador Keshav, for joining us on the program. We are going to take a short break here on Global Eye, but coming up, US President Trump plans to take over Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu gives his proposal a thumbs up, while Middle East countries and key US allies condemn the move. A special discussion with former Indian ambassador and Middle East expert Talmiz Ahmad when we return.